Good evening, and welcome to Friday Night Live with the Reptile Ward. This week, our special guest is Sam Fard of Reptile Express International. I'm very excited for tonight's guest. If any of you have any questions, we've decided to change things up a little bit. We had a few comments and concerns pertaining to how the show was being run, and we are going to be attempting to make some changes. So, we were going to aim to be a little bit more family friendly and a little bit more inclusive, and we will see how tonight goes. I'm just fucking with everybody. What's up? Alrighty. So, I don't know why I felt like doing that. I just thought it'd be kind of funny. Like as I said, we got Sam here from Reptile Express. I'm not going to make him wait much longer. So we got one thing to do, and we're bringing him in. Here we go. And there we are.
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm starting to wonder what your intro was about. You got complaints or whatever.
Yeah, I know. I was just fucking with people. I don't know. I just had the idea like 10 minutes before we went live, and I recorded it real quick. That fucking shirt's still right over there. On there, Sam. But
how are you? Changing things up when I'm on. Oh my god.
No way, man. No way. This is what we do. We just hang out and talk, shoot the shit, have fun.
Cool.
But you know what? We're just going to dive right in. For anybody, we do have a few people that aren't in Canada that do you want to just give them a brief introduction?
Yeah, for sure. So it's actually another thing I want to talk about is how it all started as well, right? Because there's so many new people in the industry and hobby that don't know how it all began.
Hold on one second. If you want to put all that together, let's just jump right in. Oh. Why is this not showing? There we go. We'll go right into the first question then. God darn it. This thing's being all glitchy right now. If you want to include that, that's one of our questions as well.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the fact that I've loved animals since I was a kid, collecting tadpoles in the pond and whatever. We've all done that. So that's basically how it all begins for the majority of us, I think. But I began in the hobby in 2001. I was about 21 years old and went to the Reptile Expos when that grant threw, and the really tiny ones back then, but it was super interesting. And I began collecting leopard geckos. Began breeding leopard geckos in 2003. My first website, it was Reptile Kings at the time, and did that for a few years, breeding high quality geckos, produced over 500 of them. And then I started with owning a reptile specialty pet store around 2006, 2009 is when I shut it down. But I did that as well. So I've done quite a few things, different things in the industry, got a feel of everything basically. And then around 2009 is when I realized I enjoyed shipping the animals, definitely better than having a retail store. I didn't quite like owning a retail store. I didn't like being in one place all the time. But yeah, that's when I realized shipping them was my interest. But back then, your only options were shipping through Air Canada and WestJet, if you remember. And it wasn't even that long ago. We're talking 10 years ago. Those were the only options. So I would work 12-hour shifts, and I'd have to go at 3 a.m. to Air Canada after a 12-hour shift. I'm like, well, this is ludicrous. This is crazy. And then you go there, and then you got to wait there. You got to sit down for another couple hours. I was just like, and then I had my, there's got to be a better way moment, right? Everybody has those. So I did that maybe 3 times, and I just got fed up. I got no patience for that nonsense. And 2009 in August, we were doing an Expedia commercial down in the beaches. I remember it very well. And while we were shooting that commercial for Expedia, I was on the phone with FedEx, Purelator, UPS. Hey guys, let's do this. Let's ship reptiles. Is this something you'd be interested in? And everything. I got hang-ups after hang-ups after hang-ups. They did not want to hear anything about it. So after a few months of rejections, I reached out to a smaller company, Courier company. They're a big company, but not as big as FedEx. And they came to my location, saw what we were all about, and they said, you know what? This is interesting. We want to take this on, and they gave me a green light. So end of 2009, that launched. And it had no real-time tracking. They had huge cube vans, like not even, they were specialists in moving furniture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but the interesting one was that now we were able to do door-to-door service. That in itself was a huge step in the right direction. So we did that for a few years, 2-3 years. And it wasn't easy because they weren't technologically advanced with their website, whatever. But our volumes went up. A lot of people in the industry supported me. Volumes went up. And then 3 years later, I went back to FedEx and I said, are you sure you still want to turn us down? These are the volumes that we can bring to you. And they quickly said, we got to sit down. We got to get together. Let's make this happen. So they took it seriously. We sat down. That took a year. That wasn't easy. It was the first for them ever in Canada. Meanwhile, in the US, they've been doing it for, over 20 years, right? So they knew how to do it in the US, but totally new in Canada. They had no idea how to approach it. And so we sat down at the negotiating table, signed the contracts, and got the logistics all sorted out. And then we launched it, and then we offered it to everybody. We had real-time tracking, super, like 99% more reliable, whereas the other company was about 70-75%. But within that year, in 2012, they actually called me up 3 times and canceled the contract 3 friggin' times. Like, it was annoying as heck. It was stressful. They just didn't want to take it on. They said it's too much liability risk and stuff like that. They had their reasons. The logistics didn't work out. FedEx wasn't very good in the rural area, so they would pass it on to Purelator, to Northern Ontario or stuff like that. And then Purelator would bitch at them and saying, we don't want you to pass these things on to us. And FedEx didn't want to have beef with Purelator, so they said, we'll just get rid of the small guy here, which is Sam. But I don't like to give up. I kept going back. We sat down at their main head office and we fine-tuned things. And after 3 rejections, we finally got something sorted. And now they love us, knock on wood. They're just so surprised at the volumes that we can provide them. They never thought that would be a thing. So yeah, so a lot of people don't realize like what all went into starting this for Canada. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a phone call. Hey, I want to ship reptiles. Okay, let's do it tomorrow. No, it wasn't like that at all. A lot of time, a lot of legalities, a lot of creative negotiations went into it. Yeah, so it was very stressful. But now it's if you call FedEx and say I got a live animal in the box, they don't say, oh, we don't ship animals. Now they all know. A lot of them know that they do. So a lot of changes came about, and that was only 10 years ago. It wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that was like a decade ago and less, right? Like it doesn't feel like that long ago, but at the same time, especially in this hobby, it's like a lifetime ago at the same time. Like
exactly,
it's crazy how much things have changed in that time. And honestly, you probably had that going right at the right time for this whole thing to just start ramping up like crazy.
Yeah.
So
imagine if we didn't do that, and then we had COVID and no airlines were shipping, we'd be shut down right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Canadian hobby would be at a standstill. We'd be stuck.
Yeah. So it happened perfectly.
The amount just from COVID, the amount of sales we're seeing people have, and like, it's been outrageous. And none of that would be possible if we didn't have somebody or something reliable that we could use to get our animals around. Because you can't fucking go out on your own. No. I can't fucking drive to Toronto and drop off an animal. Or maybe now I can. I don't remember what color we're in or whatever. But even an hour away, technically for months there, I couldn't just go drop the animal off myself. Technically, I wasn't allowed to.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I was allowed to ship FedEx.
Yeah. So it's had its benefits, and a lot of people don't realize, like, we need FedEx. We need FedEx more than they need us, and that's something I try to get out on my social media platforms all the time, because I do get emails and people get frustrated if there's a delay. I totally understand that, but there's only 1% chance of a delay happening, and FedEx is amazing to fix that when it does happen. They're better than any other carrier with their setups. I can call them, and they have people in place that can very effectively fix their mistake. But the last thing you want to do is tag FedEx in your social media post that they should be investigating animal cruelty, or they should be this, they should be that. I mean, if they keep seeing this, they're just going to be like, you know what, this is not worth our time. We're just going to shut this off. I mean, how much money are we? Yeah, we're a big company, but compared to other companies, we're not giving them that much where they want to take on all this like kind of abusive conversations that's going their way. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. And honestly, the way people kind of act about FedEx and all that kind of stuff, or any shipping service, even in the States, because I know they don't only use FedEx in the States. Like, they have a couple different services they can use. To go online like that and publicly bash a shipping company for something, all you're doing is hurting everybody.
Yeah.
All it takes is FedEx Canada seeing somebody even in the US making a post like that and them going, you know what, this is too much. We don't want this to be us next time. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes, especially right now. I mean, the U.S. is getting attacked with all these bills being proposed, especially about shipping animals. They want to ban all that, especially in New York. This is all they need. They just need one YouTube video that shows how these animals are arriving, that 1% chance where they're not arriving fine, and they'll just make a propaganda thing about it, I just don't think it's right for our community right now, especially to post that kind of stuff. So we just got to be careful.
And you know what? The thing is, too, like, I understand. I think everybody in this hobby understands the headaches of a potential shipping woe. Like, I think everybody's dealt with something, or at least knows somebody who's dealt with something about some part of the shipping process.
Yeah.
So I get it. You know what? It's frustrating. It's stressful. Like, but it is what it is. And to be able to be in a hobby like this, being able to trade these animals is a privilege. I can't quite find the exact words, but like, every person that sells and ships an animal has to realize that there is a small inherent risk.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that you can make this flawless. Even if you fucking told the person that's driving the package there to call you every hour on the hour to make sure, like, there's no fucking way. So I think every person has to take a small degree of responsibility back onto themselves too, because sometimes when these things do happen, and it's not common, but they happen, you can't just put the blame on one person.
Yeah.
FedEx probably had 15 different people that were involved in moving that package at any point in time. Like, probably more. So it's so hard, and it's just not worth it for anybody.
Yeah. And from my experience, it's honestly 99% of the time a two-way street. It's FedEx's issue, but it's also the shipper's issue. Whereas, like 2 weeks ago, somebody in US, they didn't even check the weather and ship all pythons. They didn't even check that Texas and Memphis were getting that huge storm that basically knocked out FedEx for 2 weeks. They didn't check the weather. They dropped off in Florida. The damn parcel didn't even leave Florida. It was that bad. It stayed there. And this guy made all these FedEx posts, charge them for animal abuse and all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, dude, you should have done your homework, check the weather. Not everything is as beautiful as Florida. And you could have prevented that situation. And I see that all the time, even in Canada. Like, thankfully in Canada, I have a ton of control. If the weather is not looking good, I'm checking the weather every night, 3 times a night. If it's not good, I tell the customer, you're not shipping. I don't care what you're saying. Your buyer is going to be upset. I'm not letting that animal ship. I have total control because I have control of setting up the driver pickups and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I can integrate driver pickups on my website. My IT guy said you could. I said, no, I don't want to. I want it all in my, it's for the safety of the animal. Because a lot of people don't realize, if you're shipping from Toronto to BC, you're not only checking Toronto weather and BC weather, you got to check Winnipeg weather because it stays there for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg in the winter is around -30 at times. So we postpone that for a week or so until they go back to normal. So there's a lot of logistics involved that I have control over, and people are shipping really well because of that. Oh, let's see this other question.
Actually, before we get to this question, I just wanted to sort of tag on to that. Sam has no qualms telling you if there's an issue shipping. I have a box sitting right here. This thing was supposed to go out like 2 weeks ago. And I got an email like the night before, like, hey man, no chance. I was like, good. I'd rather this animal not go and decrease any kind of risk than, it makes no sense. Yeah. For me to keep an animal for an extra 2 weeks or whatever it is, like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it really
why you would push that.
Anyway. And the animal comes first. A lot of people say my buyer's getting antsy. I don't care if your buyer's getting antsy. That animal comes first.
Your buyer should understand.
But you know what? It's the buyer 99% of the time. Everything I'm saying, all my statistics today is 99%. If you saw that, 99% of the time is the buyer that always will bitch at you, the seller, me, the shipper, if something goes wrong. But they were the one that were the impatient one. That's why I don't listen to the buyers being antsy. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Kathleen, Melusine Exotics. Any improvements coming to shipping to the Maritimes? It's such a nightmare, no matter what shipping company.
Yeah, so Maritimes. Oh my God, you should have been there 10 years ago. It was near impossible. So we've come a long way, 100%. I know that Melusine is actually in the outskirts of her area too, so that definitely doesn't help. But they've come a long way. I will say that it was really, really hard before. We didn't have many options. So I don't have any intel regarding that, but they did buy an additional plane 3 years ago that provided better service to the Maritimes, and it has improved a lot. They're able to have deliveries happen sooner in the day too. But as for your specific area, I mean, it's kind of in the outskirts, but they're always working. They're always improving. So. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so another question I had, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but so what was it that actually got you into the whole like shipping of other people's animals? Like, was it literally just an idea one day that you were like, oh man, there's got to be something better than this, and then you just started like digging right into it, or was there an actual catalyst that kind of
it was basically that aha moment that there's got to be a better way, and if I'm going to do it for myself, why not do it for other people to help people out in the community? I mean, I've had 3 different business ideas in this industry, right? The breeding, the retail store, and so I've just always been creative. It doesn't mean you have one business idea that one's going to be super successful. So I kept trying stuff out, and I knew that shipping would have had the biggest potential for sure, and we definitely needed it.
That's very fair. Cool. All right, guys. Also, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm going to try and keep up with them the best I can. If we miss them, just drop them again. Honestly, we'll try to get to as many as we possibly can here. So we've been going about 20 minutes. You did mention that you have an announcement to make. I don't know if that's something you want to hold on to till later on. If you want to just say it now, I'll kind of leave that in your court.
Yeah, so I do want to mention a little later because it leads up to something about what's going on in the U.S. that made me think about this new thing. So, okay, cool. But let's definitely not forget about it. So another thing I wanted to point out is that that we also do offer UPS shipping on our website. Unfortunately, it's not for snakes. They are against that. The president of UPS in the U.S. is super strict about it. But anyway, we do have that option, UPS, FedEx. So we're the only ones in Canada, and I think in the U.S. actually, that we have multiple carrier options for shipping live animals. And UPS, a lot of people select them to go in the rural areas, and they've been performing really well, especially in the Maritimes. That's an option.
Noah wants to know if there's going to be cheaper shipping to areas like his. I think he's like 20 or 30 minutes outside of Barrie, so just sort of like a rural
Yeah. Barry
Um,
for sure. I don't know if I knew where he was, maybe I'd know better.
yeah, no, I drop your actual town name just so we can actually give you an actual answer here. We'll jump to another question. Get back to Noah then.
Okay.
So, what's an experience that you've had that's changed one of your processes or policies?
Oh, tons over the years, tons. Oh my God. I keep, even now, when something happens, I change my templates up. I'm a very heavy on templates. It's
Mhm.
taking a lot of time, and that way you ensure you don't forget anything. But it's maybe the biggest one. Oh, okay. Well, we just touched upon it. Before, I used to give the customer the option to ship during dangerous weather. I left that in their court, and it never resulted well. I knew it wasn't going to go well. They insisted it was going to go well, and it didn't. So that's one thing I changed. Now I don't. I put it all in my court. I make the decision. So that's one thing for sure, and that's saved numerous lives, animal lives. What other thing? Another thing was FedEx in December. Actually, all carriers were slammed. Chris knows this. They were just super delayed. I mean, this was the first time I had this kind of experience with FedEx. They performed extremely well at the start of COVID, March 2020. Performed incredibly well, better than everybody, all the way until December 20, and they just dropped the ball. And we had numerous 5-6 day delays. And again, I had another aha moment that, hey, I got this beautiful Reptile Courier van sitting here, and I can put it to good use during the winter, especially. And I started transporting for people within a huge area in southwestern and eastern Ontario.
Yeah, you covered pretty much like almost all of southern Ontario. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So it's about a 12-hour day driving, but I mean, the animals are super safe in the back and temperature controlled. I check on them every stop. Like they get the most, and you get real-time tracking. You can follow my van like Uber, and you know the second it's arriving, and people like my customers are even waiting at the door. That's how accurate.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So there's been a few things.
For that, I actually had a question for you, because when you introduced that, I was just trying to figure out the logistics of it. So do you plan kind of 2 days of the same trip back to back, and do like one trip to do a pickup and then another to drop off along the same route? Or like, how do you plan that?
Yeah, so I start in the morning and I do everything. It's same day service. So I pick up in the morning and I work all the way until nighttime. So 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Yeah.
So you just drive until you're done?
Until I'm done. And it's I've calculated out to be within 4 hours from pickup to delivery, your customer will get their animal. 4 hours.
So Don's kind of asking the same question. If he's in London and shipping to, say, Peterborough, how exactly would you plan that?
So that's actually pretty easy. Peterborough might be next morning, just because of where London is and Peterborough is. I did that last weekend, and I realized it had to be done the next morning. But I'm in London all the time. Oh my God, there's so much demand in London. But on the West End, there's not too much demand. That's why it kind of becomes next day morning delivery.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Don and I might have to hit you up for that sometime soon, because we keep trying to exchange an animal and we keep missing each other. So,
okay. So we can totally do that.
And he's asking about the cost of said service.
Okay, so that's on the website. That's on the website, reptileexpress.com, and then you just scroll to the courier option. And there's 3 zones. London to Peterborough would be, I believe it's 125, if I'm not mistaken, plus tax. So it ranges from 75 to 125.
Okay. On top of the questions that we have in the chat and the few that I had pre-planned, I also asked Instagram earlier today for some questions for you. And we have a few, so I'll kind of just pepper them in as we go. But the one major thing, and I think I already know the answer, but I'm just going to ask you anyway. I got this question from probably 3 or 4 separate people. But basically the question is, why is shipping within Canada more expensive than shipping within a country like the US?
It's actually not. A lot of people think it's not.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, I ship to the US all the time, and my God, it is expensive. But you know what? The American sellers, they're very effective with their marketing. 10, 15 years ago, they did that whole $50 flat rate shipping. Prices have gone up a lot since then, but they're still keeping to that because it's an effective marketing tool. It's something that I wish more Canadians took advantage of because it is very effective in selling your animals. I did that myself when I used to breed animals, but it's definitely not cheap in the US either. Yeah.
And honestly, Nick and I have spoken, and I think we're going to start doing like an $80 flat rate kind of thing. So regardless of where it's going, you're always paying that. Doesn't matter. It's box size, nothing.
Yeah.
And you know what? If we got to eat $40-$50 on the odd one.
Exactly. And there's ways you can bring that cost down. A lot of customers, this has changed a lot because we were marketing it heavily, but a lot of people in the past would, I got to ship to whatever, Alberta. I'm going to put an order in for one box to get to me, ship to Alberta. I get another order to BC, put an order in, get one box. That's actually costing you a lot of money. If you think you're gonna ship regularly, get our bundles. Our bundles come with 9 kit number ones, or there's a variety of them, and you save over $100 in UPS fees to ship you all those kits at the same time. And then you could just boom, 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 ship out your orders right away, and you don't have to wait for a box to get to you. The rates are lower. Your quote to your customer, your quote to sales conversion will be higher because your rates are lower than your competitors. I'll tell you this, all my high volume shippers, they purchase bundles. So,
trust me, I know. I've been to Billy's. I've seen the piles upon piles of boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when you buy these bundles, do they all come like pre-made? Just like if you bought a single one, do they just come pre-made all together?
They come flat, like especially the number ones. They come flat with the styrofoam and the cardboard nice and flat. But we do put the stickers, everything on for you.
That's cool. Oh, all right. So, Noah, going back to his question about kind of the rural areas, he's in Oro Medonte, I think it is.
Yeah,
I think that was the spelling correct or whatever.
Yeah. So we FedEx does offer service there. But it is expensive. It does add money to that. But the closest drop off would be Barrie. If you're able to make it down there, your rate would reduce a lot. And if that is possible for you, let us know. We'll edit your account online to have a Barrie postal code. That way, your shipping rates would be lower. But right now, where you are, it's kind of a rural area.
So is price sort of dependent on like how much work is involved to get the animal to that whatever that position is? Like if they're on a normal FedEx route, does that make the cost significantly less than say like Noah here, who this FedEx guy might be going specifically to his area just for that purpose?
See, that's what it is. There's so much less demand there, so they got to make up for the time.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. Just making sure we didn't miss any questions here. All right. So on top of the Instagram questions, we also have we have Reptile Ward Discord that a lot of the people that are in the chat here and some others are a part of. And we had, I don't want to say very involved, but we had a small discussion today about like import export. And I won't go into specifics on them. If I'm touching on anything that has to do with what you want to announce later, just let me know.
Yeah.
But Melusine, Kathleen, she lives, I think she said like 5 or 10 minutes away from the border to Maine.
Mm-hmm.
If someone like Kathleen were to want to figure out a way to, say, bring animals across that border, that's, again, like a 5-minute walk from her.
Yeah.
What would the process there be? Does she have to go through the same steps that you have to go through for import-export? Or can you apply to, say, bring in just 2 animals and that's it?
Are we talking about ball pythons?
I would assume so. I know that's what she keeps, but
yeah. Oh, no. So
I meant generally.
She's totally obligated to do everything we're doing as well. There's no...
So there's no shortcut to only bring in an animal or 2 animals or something like that?
No. Wow. Whether you bring 1 animal or 1,000, it's the same policy. That's why when a customer emails me, I want to bring in one ball python. I'm like, well, is it really going to be worth your while? Whether it's 1 ball python or a bunch, it's the same rate because it's the same paperwork, the same time spent on that paperwork, same inspection process. So might as well just get more. But yeah, she would still need to, first of all, so it's not, well, she has to get her import-export license, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife import-export license. That's $100 US. Then she's got to get what's called a designated port exception permit. That's $100 US. And so it adds up. And that's a couple months worth of getting those licenses to arrive. Then you need to have an actual U.S. physical address. It can't be a post office. They're very strict about that. It has to be an actual physical address. And what you got to do is after you do your inspection at the border with Fish and Wildlife, you got to keep all those files, all those documents, and then you got to send them to your location in the U.S. because that's the rule with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, so they can audit you at any time. I've been audited once. It was a surprise visit, so they do take that seriously. Yeah. So it's not just about, I'm going to import animals the day I import them. It's a done deal. No, you got to do work. What we do is after we bring them in, we scan all our paperwork into the cloud, and then we send the documents physically to our U.S. location. So there's stuff involved with that. It's not that easy.
I couldn't even imagine. It's weird because that conversation kind of took a weird turn into the whole CITES thing, and like why specifically ball pythons, but it could be any animal that's on any appendix of CITES.
Yeah.
Really doesn't matter, but using ball pythons as an example, why are we still dealing with the amount of hassle that's required to bring them over when there's no concern for protection or endangerment or anything like that? Do you happen to know that? Because I've actually reached out to the CITES media to see if I can get somebody, but I haven't heard a reply yet.
I believe it. Good luck.
Yeah, right? That's what I've heard from a couple of people.
If you expect to get no reply, email the CITES people. But a lot of the animals on CITES they don't need any protection. They are bred in captivity by the masses and stuff like that. But they also are traded heavily. And that's, in my opinion, what it actually is what CITES is all about, is to control how much of trade goes on between them, right? Release that CITES rule for ball pythons, and it's just going to be even crazier with the trade, right? And they want to control that to a certain degree. Yeah, so that's mostly what it is. It's not really about them being extinct or endangered or stuff like that.
So you think it's more involved in the actual tracking of the trade,
yes,
rather than any kind of endangerment?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, that's actually neat. That's not something I ever personally considered. So,
like abronias were heavily traded. They went from non-CITES right away to CITES to the Abronia gremini. And recently, the tokay geckos, they were being used heavily in medicine in Asia. Like their habitat was just getting decimated, and they put them on. So that's what it's about, protecting them.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what made you realize that you wanted to work with animals? Like, what was it one of those things where, like, ever since you were a kid, you always went out and picked up all the salamanders and snakes you could find, or was there something that sort of helped you realize that?
Yeah, so just like everybody, if you're in this animal field, you probably liked them when you were young. So that's definitely me, so young, like maybe 9-10 years old. I bring tadpoles over and caterpillars, a lot of caterpillars, and dragonflies, stuff like that. Yeah, my parents were never fond of animals, and so I had to really beg to keep something. So I think that made my passion even stronger. So that's what it was. And then I just really think they're really innocent creatures. They deserve so much respect. They're not asking to be shipped from here to there. So we got to really care about that. Like, hello, yeah, we understand we're putting you through stress, but let's minimize that. Let's make that as effective as possible. And that's the number one thing I think about when I do run my business is these guys are not asking to be shipped. So let's make it as comfortable as possible for them. If the weather is bad, we have control over that. Let's postpone by a few days. Stuff like that. So
that's fair. And you know what? The other part about it is whenever I hear an issue where a buyer couldn't wait to receive their animal and insisted that it be shipped, and there was an issue, the first thing I always think of is like, you as the buyer, why would you like? I understand the excitement, but why would you not care more about that animal's well-being before anything else than just your own? I don't. What would you call it? Gratification of having it in your hands. Like
impatient.
Waiting a week is going to change that feeling somehow.
Yeah.
Like I just don't get it.
Yeah. So in December, we posted right on our booking website. There's many delays happening, guys. Please, if you're going to ship, don't ship fragile animals. Don't ship young animals and stuff. It was right there. Mm-hmm. And this one buyer kept insisting for the seller to ship a chameleon. Actually, two crested geckos, very young crested geckos. And it got delayed by a day, and it didn't make it. One of them didn't make it. And then what does he do? He goes and leaves us a bad review. It's like, but it was written on the website, don't ship fragile animals. So it's
that's always the type that gives you the bad review too. It's the ones that were very well aware, very well informed, and still decided to go the other direction.
Exactly.
So it is what it is. Fang Fabrications wants to know, and actually I need to book a shipment for them for one of our animals. That just reminded me. Do you see Reptile Express ever expanding to the point where you don't need FedEx or UPS for shipping? Oh, that's a neat question.
Well, we're trying to be like Amazon, where we can say, see you, FedEx, but I don't see that happening anytime at all soon. But again, starting with the local areas, Ontario and Quebec, with our vans and stuff like that, I do plan on adding more to my fleet for sure. So within those provinces, you never know, maybe a bunch more. But yeah, to get to other parts of Canada, you're going to need a plane and those
so how many people do you actually have working for Reptile Express right now? Like what's your total employee count?
I think we're full-time and behind the scenes on contract. We have about 6-7 people.
Wow.
Yeah. There's quite a bit that goes on here.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's I can just imagine the amount of crap you guys deal with in a single day.
Yeah. And
to only have, say, 1 or 2 people to field all of that. Like, I'm sure you've had days personally where by the end of the day, you're like, I don't even want to, I just, tomorrow I'm just going to not help. Like, I'm just going to turn my phone off. Screw everybody. But actually, you can't, right?
No, you can't. No, in 2020, I didn't have any staff. COVID hit March, April. We got slammed with orders that I was working 14-hour shifts. It was crazy. I never saw Ashley. Our sleep routines were totally off. And then August hit, which is normally our peak season. But then you add COVID high volume, so it just became an enormous task. And I'm just like, I don't think I could work more than 14 hours. So me and Ashley talked about hiring somebody else, and she recommended somebody. By September, we brought her on. Amazing Sarah Miller. I'm sure you're familiar.
Oh, I didn't know Sarah was working for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, Sarah Miller. She keeps.
Oh, that's so cool.
She's in Barrie as well. Phenomenal. She's super kind, emails, phone calls. I have her on the phones now too. And and then we set up a whole new office. So spent $6,000 on a brand new office setup, computers and all that kind of. And we changed from an email system to a ticketing system where we now time track how long a customer has waited to get a response. And if it takes them a long time, it goes red and we get on it right away. And then we can easily transfer emails back, tickets back and forth between agents. It's super smooth. Like, customers are loving how fast we get back to the inquiries. So there's been a lot of changes due to COVID.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? It's been phenomenal. Like, as somebody who's been shipping, I don't want to say nonstop, but we've had quite a few shipments since this time last year. I mean, I'd probably booked, I don't know, at least 15 shipments from you. Like, we don't do a lot of shipping, but that's still more than we're used to over the course of a calendar year. Just the difference in, like, how quickly even those response emails came from the automatic booking. Like, it's been phenomenal. It's so easy to get something done now. Like, it's done. Like, it's been great.
And I just want to make it easy for everybody. Get timely answers. What's going on?
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate that. Sorry, Sam. Oh, that's funny.
I was talking to Billy today. He always makes me laugh, that guy.
Oh, he's something. Oh, man.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, at the beginning of COVID, oh my God, every customer is calling me up. Sam, I got nothing left to sell. I should have bred more. I should have produced more. It was just crazy. People are buying up everything.
It made me laugh because at the beginning of COVID, I'm sure you saw it too. There were people posting. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna slow my 2020 season down. I don't know what to expect, so I'm not gonna overproduce this year." And then 3 months later, everybody was like, "I can't make enough fucking stuff to sell."
Seriously,
and it just never stopped.
Yeah, it really helped our industry. We grew big time. Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, for everybody else, it sucked. 100% it sucked. And it sucked for everybody in this hobby and industry too. You know, my wife hasn't worked. Well, she went back for, I think, 6 weeks, but essentially since this time last year because of what all got shut down and just the unfortunate circumstance of like her career choice, right? So it has been shit. But at the same time, like, this has forced so many people to kind of look at their hobby and go, maybe I put a little more into this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe I spend a little bit more time in here. Maybe I grow a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. I feel like nobody that's been selling animals for the past calendar year has done poorly.
No. I think a handful of customers even told me they quit their jobs and did their breeding full time. Yeah.
And honestly, if we had more female, if I had more females, if I just had the means of more production last year, I probably could have. Yeah. I don't know if that would have been sustainable, but last year, easily, like daily, we'd just be like, what's available? What's available? What's available? It was wild.
I think this year is going to be even busier. Like, I keep checking up on my stats and stuff. It's even busier, if you can believe it.
So I honestly hope it is, though. I hope all the people that were like, "Oh, I'm going to hold back for 2020," go, screw that, and go full force. And this year's even more wild.
Yeah, it's looking that way already.
I can't wait. Oh, I don't know how he skimmed over this, but that's a really cool question.
So DOA insurance. There's one company in the U.S. that offers to ship your reptiles. Me and Robin have talked quite a bit about that, about his experience with it. So we've looked into it too. We've looked at calling other insurance companies to provide this for live animal shipping. Again, lots of hangups. Nobody wanted to take that kind of situation on. So Ship Your Reptiles, what they do is an in-house insurance. They actually put up their own money. If anything goes wrong, it's their money that goes to the customer. And the numbers they tell me is enough to scare me to not offer it currently, because we're not as big as the American companies. There's no way we're even as close to them. But they have enough volume where they can take that responsibility and risk on in-house. But yeah, unfortunately, and it's also something we haven't had to look into because DOA rates are so low. Like, to put that amount of our money and put it into this kind of an investment, it's just going to be sitting there and going to waste. Whereas I can invest in stuff like the van to bring more animals across the border and stuff like that. It's just not worthwhile to look into. You know what I mean? So,
well, and on top of that too, you mentioned that Ship Your Reptiles sort of handles that insurance in-house. For anybody that's not really aware, basically, this is a private company offering insurance, which is essentially them gambling with their own money to offer this. And you know what? It probably works out for them because they probably get more business because of that.
They do.
That insurance. But all it would take is one bad week where somebody made one bad oversight, and that could turn on its head on a dime. Like, it does not take a lot to go from them like, oh, this is making us a little bit of money, to just that's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I personally wouldn't want to gamble with my business just in case there's a bad week or two. Like,
yeah, and there's rules too. You can't just, it died, give me my money. You got to follow their procedures as to what would qualify for an insurance to be paid out. You got to use one of their boxes. You got to pack it this way and that way. There's a whole list of rules on their website that you got to follow, and there will be an investigation, obviously. And it doesn't mean they will always pay out the claim. You got to match those requirements.
And so it sounds like they actually did the research in terms of like insurance policies and making sure that they were also covered as well, to avoid as much I shouldn't say any fraud, but as much fraud as possible, because
And that's the thing
from
too.
somebody who comes from the insurance industry and from somebody who's one of my parents is literally a fraud investigator for one of the biggest insurance companies in the world. It happens a lot. If people think that they can get free fucking money, oh my God, they're going to try.
Yeah. That's another thing I thought about, the amount of fraud situations that would happen. I just don't have time for it right now. It's not something I'm interested in.
And you know what? Honestly, especially like I remember I don't want to call the person out anyway, but I can't remember who it was. But somebody had shipped a couple times with you. And I don't know if maybe they just didn't read your site all the way through, or they had heard that a company in the States was doing it, so they assumed you were doing it and never just checked. Yeah. But I mentioned to somebody, because they were like, oh, well, if it happens, it's covered under the DOA guarantee anyway. And I was like,
yeah,
where are you getting this from? They're like, oh, well, it's a live arrival guarantee. And I was like, we don't have that up here. Like, we live in one of the most tumultuous countries in terms of weather, like radical weather changes. It would be unfathomable. Like, unfathomable. Sorry, the words just didn't come out there properly.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too these days. You guys have live arrival guarantee, everything's protected, and I got to kind of educate them that no, we don't have something like that.
And then you look like the bad guy.
Yeah.
People think that you're doing it because you don't want to, and they don't understand the whole process behind it, which is why I think stuff like this is great.
Yeah.
Sure. You know what? Maybe not everybody that's going to ship with you in 2021 is watching right now, but if anybody has a question or a concern, at least, now I can turn them to this video and say, hey, go to the 25-minute mark. Sam made a comment about that. At least they can understand why.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you get a lot of emails too, just questions. Everybody does in this hobby. Yeah. Just questions. Stuff that they could find out on their own, but you still got to answer.
Yeah. So, live arrival we don't offer, but again, that's why I'm also very strict on when people can ship and not. It just reduces that risk so much more. And because when a DOA does happen, I not only hear from the seller, I hear from the buyer. There's 2 people on one shipment, and that takes up a few hours on one shipment. So that's why you ship only when I think it's good to ship.
Oh, and you know what? I mean, personally, I've only had good experiences like receiving. I had a bit of an iffy experience shipping to Melusine, Kathleen. I don't know if you remember that from last year, but
kind of do.
Obviously it worked out. Like we didn't have to involve you too much. We kind of, I shouldn't say handled it together. It was all Kathleen. But then the only time I've had even a slight issue receiving was I had an adult female ball python coming to me, and the driver claimed that they stopped here and tried to get a hold of us, but just no phone call, no nothing, and then they just carried on.
Oh, okay.
And I remember by the time, because you're a busy guy, and I think you were in the States that day or something doing an import. So by the time I got a hold of you, I had the animal anyway. I had already had them turn around and drop it off. So
what did you do? Call them, or they just turned around themselves?
Oh no, so I couldn't get a hold of the delivery driver, so I just called. Their head office, and just basically waited on hold till I got to somebody that could turn them around. I just basically told them, hey, I'll show you the proof. They never buzzed me. They never called me. More than happy to, but I need this. This is a live animal.
And they made it really good with turning their drivers around. Honestly, I don't know any other carrier that does that so well. If they miss you, or even if you are home, and they did ring the bell, but you didn't hear it, they will still come back if you call them early enough. So they're good that way.
I'm going to kick Billy out of here.
He's just dirtying everything up.
Oh, man. He's what a guy. Anyway, so one other thing I want to ask you about. First import-export of 2021. I've been told is early April. Is that?
So April 7 is the first official one. I've been doing a bunch of them before then. Behind the scenes, there's some customers that, they can't wait, but they are paying top dollar for dedicated runs.
Hey, yeah, if they want to pay the premium for you to bring it there yourself, just their animal, go for it, right?
Yeah, but the group rates start at April 7th because the weather is really good then, and
Mhm.
yeah, so it's April.
So
7th.
are you doing a shipment out and receiving a shipment all at the same time?
Yeah, so when I go,
Oh,
it's
wow.
always both ways. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why. For some reason, I thought you did. That makes a lot more sense. That must be a long day for you then.
Huge. 7 a.m. get up, and I'm done by 9-10 p.m. I
Oh
don't
man,
even eat or nothing. Maybe a couple trips
that's on a good one, right? Without any issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the one time where they held me up at the border for 2 hours because they thought leopard geckos were CITES. So yeah, you definitely get some weird officers for sure.
I got very lucky. I didn't have to pick up an animal from you that day. I'm sure you weren't in the best mood.
No, I wasn't. Oh yeah.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, guys. First import export is April 7th, I believe. We have something coming up from Miguel. So that'll be pretty cool.
Nice.
Oh,
we have more dates this year than last year. It's happening every 1 week, 2 weeks. So we have more dates than anybody. Yeah.
So you're basically trying to make it down there, like say 2 to 3 times a month.
Yeah, exactly. I want to make it so
that's
you
amazing.
guys are not waiting long. It's just moving. The flow is going. Yeah.
That's an insane improvement compared to even say last year where, well, I shouldn't use 2020 as an example because we were shut down for export import for
a few months,
80% of the year.
Yeah.
But even say 2019 where it seemed to be like every month ish if it worked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 2019 was once a month. Yeah, so we've come a long way for sure.
Oh, here you go. You got Billy tooting your horn here.
Thanks, Omi. You're the best. He's cleaning it up a bit.
He's trying to. Well, up here, he said he was a troll. He is a troll. I'm the only other person that talks on his damn podcast but him, but he's still here giving me a hard time.
I noticed that.
Okay, so like I said, guys, any other questions? We have 34 people watching this for some damn reason. So if anybody has any more questions, feel free. Just drop them in the chat.
You want to get to the announcement? Let's do the announcement.
Up to you, buddy. You're the one that has the announcement to make. So I'm gonna throw you up on the screen. All you.
Okay. So, U.S. Fish and Wildlife with their CITES permits in the USA. Canada's awesome. 3 to 4 week turnaround to get CITES permits. But in the USA, it's very slow because they moved from a paper-based system where you have to mail them applications to an online system. Their online system is impressive, but it's slow. It's created a backlog moving all the paper-based to online. So we have a bunch of permits that we submitted before they went online. That was before November. That are now just super delayed because it was the old method. So what we decided to do is apply for ball pythons and green tree pythons. So these two species, ball pythons, green tree pythons, on our end. So that we would apply for these animals in advance, and that you don't have to really send us all that kind of information that we used to ask for in the beginning. And then we're going to do ball python, green tree python imports every approximately 2 months. We're just going to have permits coming to us nonstop. And so it's going to be a lot faster, and it's even going to be cheaper. So that's the announcement. So right now there's ball python permits right now hugely. I know Justin Kaboka messaged me the other day, huge backlog. He can't even really have that going lately. So there's a problem down there. We're going to fix it. So yeah, so that's the announcement. Ball python, green tree pythons are going to be a lot easier, more frequent for everybody in Canada.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal. Is it because that those are your two say like most shipped animals, or is it just by chance?
We have a contact in the USA that can help us with this for these two species. If they had other species, we could definitely keep that, do those as well. Exactly.
Cody knows what's up. They're my favorite. It's funny. You were like, "Oh, I have an announcement for ball pythons and green tree pythons," and I was like, "Oh, so the species I work with are my favorite species on the planet." And I was like, "I am so down. This is awesome."
Yeah, we need more GTPs in Canada too.
What's that?
We need more GTPs in Canada for sure.
Yeah, there's some really cool people doing some cool stuff, but the amount of stuff elsewhere is just unreal, man.
Yeah.
I personally just need a little bit more space. I want to do a bunch of like really elaborate, really cool, bright green tree setups, like 3 or 4 nice big display enclosures.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, just right now, I don't have that capacity. But one day.
Beautiful animals, yeah.
And actually, you know what? That reminded me of another question we got from Instagram. Are there any species that you actually keep personally?
So yeah, I went from hundreds of geckos. I'm a lizard guy more than anything. I love the geckos, especially Australians variety. So right now I don't have too much time. I'm always on this darn computer here, but I got a 1.2 of Strophoris tenacata that I have downstairs, and I just ordered a 1.1 of Ciliaris as well. Again, they're all Australian gecko species, super cool. They're just getting popular now. They're not in collections that readily, so especially in Canada. And yeah, most of my stuff is coming from Europe. I'm just going to tinker with it, breeding them. I did breed the Tanacata, and she is looking plump, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is more a question from me. But you brought up Ashley a little while ago. So Ashley obviously runs Northern Lights. Oh my God.
Reptile imports.
Thank you. I wanted to just say imports, and I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Are there any overlaps between the two of you guys? Like, do you incorporate any parts of what she's doing in Reptile Express or vice versa? Or do you keep it completely separate?
Business-wise, like paperwork and all that kind of stuff, no, we don't. But we do teamwork a lot. We help each other a lot. She brings a huge volume. Like, she was, in my opinion, the biggest volume for Europe to Canada and US in 2020.
She brought in a ton. It was crazy.
It was her shipments were one of the main reasons I decided to get a van, because they just weren't fitting in my Jeep anymore. Then all of a sudden my US stuff were exceeding a lot too. So it came out handy. But yeah, so I think she imported more than anybody in Europe. The guy in Europe that was doing it, he wasn't doing that much anymore. So yeah, it was just, we imported more last year from Europe than ever before. And then she has to reship them within Canada. So she utilizes Reptile Express. And then she reaches to US customers as well, and she uses my service. So it goes hand in hand, and it's super effective.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure that helps the both of you to have that kind of quick access, especially for those animals that I'm sure you don't want to sit around at your place for who knows how long. So
what happened with Ashley was she used to bring him in from this previous importer in Europe. This is back when we first met. Mm-hmm. And the animals were coming loose in the box or smelly or DOA. And I just said, listen,
oh my God,
now that we've teamed up, we have to figure this out and switch who you're using in Europe. She quickly heeded my advice, and she was totally on it. She agreed, and she didn't waste time. She started researching, and it worked out amazing. She found a couple phenomenal people in Europe that really care, take the time to package these animals properly, give them water, all this kind of stuff. And when we received our first shipment with this new setup, the animals were in perfect shape, minimal to non-existent DOA. No animals were loose in the box. And then on our end, Ashley started bringing helpers as well. So we'd get the shipment on 8 p.m. and she'd bring helpers to help her all the way through 3, 4 a.m. Just giving them water, putting them in these incredible setups we have for them in the basement, super comfortable. So we make sure these animals are like well taken care of while they're in our care.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was one of my hognoses. I think it's my female albino anaconda. I brought it in with Ashley, and there was a couple other hognoses that came in with a shipment. And I was planning to come pick them up same day as normal, you know what I mean? Like that's usually how you guys do it. I mean, with the Europe stuff, I know there's sometimes you guys just sort of deal with it the next day.
Yeah.
But she messaged me and she was like, hey, listen, one of the animals in the shipment showed up not looking so hot. I'm going to keep them all to make sure that they're all doing okay. Like, I don't want you to come show up in this. And And it was so professional. She's like, I just want to make sure they're eating, drinking, shitting.
Yeah.
Give me a day or two. And I've personally I've never seen somebody take that on themselves, because she was like, listen, I'll take care of your animal. I just want to make sure it's okay first. Like, it wasn't her responsibility, and yet she still made it her responsibility.
For sure. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Drink, please.
From the other
Oh, okay. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, you're right. She does that with a few customers for sure. Yeah.
And no, it was so cool of her, and you could just tell that she's not just bringing stuff over as a business to be a business and make money. Like, she cares about these animals that she's bringing over, whether they're hers or not.
Yeah. Yeah, like she even makes mental notes. She'll make a mental note, it's got a nose rub or it's got mites. She goes through each and every single animal, which does extend how long it takes her to process everything, but it comes in very handy to know what's going on with each individual animal.
It's awesome. In terms of the whole Europe thing, do you do any import-export that way? I don't know if I've ever really looked into that. Yes, like, does Reptile Express ship or receive from?
So when we receive, it's Ashley. When we export, she uses my company info, everything. I book everything to go to Europe, but she handles all the arrangements. I don't touch Europe. I got a lot on my plate, so I do Canada, USA, and Asia, and all of Europe. If I get any emails of Europe, there's quite a bit, I just forward to Ashley to take care of, because there's just too many emails. But
so she even brings in like ball pythons and stuff for the Europe side.
Yeah, she brings in Aki monitors and all that kind of stuff. So Europe is weird when it comes to CITES. They have very strict rules. You have to be CITES. The seller has to be CITES registered, and most people in Europe aren't. And you can't have a broker like me in Europe filling out an application for you. It's like totally against their policy. They have the strictest live animal transportation policies ever. Like, it's ridiculous. You can't ship through FedEx. You got to hire a private courier that's DERFA certified. They got to have temperature control, this and that, and all these kind of things.
And doesn't have to be like picked up or delivered to like an expo or a show or something. Like, it's got like a weird wording. I can't remember what it is, or maybe that's just a specific part of Europe.
The like ham shows we used to do. Everybody would meet at the ham show and exchange animals. But when it comes to actual live animal transportation, it's very difficult to get across Europe with those animals, or even getting a CITES permit. It's not easy.
So that's just something you're like, hey, I don't even have enough time for this.
I'm tapping out. So that's nothing I can do. Yeah.
That's very fair. I mean, I'm sure just with Canada, you have enough that you're a busy guy, and then you're also dealing with the import-export. I know you bring in a lot of stuff for Justin and a lot of the other big guys in the U.S. What's the actual process like for you for bringing animals across the border, whether you're importing or exporting? Like, what would your day actually entail before you would say you're done?
Okay, so it doesn't even start with the day of import. It starts 2 weeks before that, when I got to take everybody's information down, the animal info, do the paperwork. I mean, I spend a week and a half just on paperwork.
That's crazy.
To make and then I double check my paperwork, because even the slightest, you forgot one quantity, it's not going to pass now. They're super strict with it. So I double check everything, and then I submit everything to Fish and Wildlife a few days before. And then the day of import, 7 a.m., get there 9:30 a.m., and that's my inspection for Canada, U.S. Show the paperwork to the officer, clears it. Then I go to my location in New York, pack them up. I love my van for this reason. I don't care if it's winter or hot summer weather. I can just pack them in my van, doors closed and the temperature controlled. And then I just take about an hour to pack up everything, make sure everything's packed up properly, drop it off by 11 a.m., 12 at the location. And then that same location has my imports to Canada. So I pick all those up, unbox them, make sure all the animals are fine, check them all in the van, I pre-inspect them, then I take them to the inspection at 12:30ish, and then the officer looks at all of them, make sure all the studies, if they're studies animals, the quantities match, everything looks good, stamps all my paperwork. Then I take the paperwork to Canada Customs, and they look at the stamps, and I got to do a customs paperwork in Canada Customs. So there's 2 countries' laws you got to abide by depending on their wildlife rules, and then you pay the taxes and all that, and then I rush back 2 hours to my location in Richmond Hill, and then everybody here, the whole team, we start packing because these animals got to leave tonight. I don't want them to be delayed any further. So I'm back by 3 p.m. We pack all the way 6 p.m. I'm at FedEx by 7, shipping out like 25 boxes, so they're there the next day. And then people that are local to us, they pick up from us that same day of import. So it's very, very go, no stop.
So I'm sure those import-export days, you never have a short day. Like you know when you're waking up that morning, you're not going to bed early.
No. And I get so anxious, even after doing this for so long, I don't even sleep more than 3 hours the night before. So I'm super exhausted by the time everything's over.
So piggybacking off of all that, have you ever had any bad or say unfortunate experiences at the border? Anything that, maybe you didn't go to plan or for some reason, didn't work out because of either say buyer's error or something else?
So I have a few I can mention. The first time they used to have a Fish and Wildlife officer. There's this guy who was super strict, super rude, just totally unpleasant to deal with. He was an ex-military guy, and he inspected my stuff. Apparently, one of the corn snakes kind of fell while he was inspecting, and we didn't realize this. I drove all the way back 2 hours to Richmond Hill. He called me and he said, I noticed you have a corn snake here. And I said, oh my God. And he goes, yeah, are you going to come back and get them? I said, I have to. So at 10 p.m., 10, 11 p.m., I drove all the way back down. So it was 8-hour driving that day.
Oh my God.
Snake. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So that was one issue. Another issue was Environment Canada gave us a Canadian CITES permit for sand boas, and they marked it as a personal shipment. So they use a personal code instead of a commercial code. And I didn't realize it because it's so small. It's such a small digit on the permit. The supervisor happened to be on duty that day at U.S. Fish and Wildlife. He saw it and he rejected it. That was my first rejected shipment ever. That was about 3 years ago. So we had, when they reject it, people think they're going to confiscate them or kill the animals. No, they don't do that. We're allowed to take them back. They do seal it up with their branded logo shipping tape to make sure nothing's been touched. And then we bring it back to Canada, reapply for the correct version, and then do it again. And we
now what would happen if it happened from the other side though? If you're picking up and they don't accept it.
Yeah, so then I go back to my New York location. It's like an office with computers and everything. I can just create a new shipping label and send it
okay. Back. So you actually have a physical location over there that you can actually work at?
Yeah, I rent a spot there.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned earlier that you needed an address, but I didn't know if you just paid somebody to say, hey, this is the address. So
my New York location isn't my physical address for the paperwork. I have a friend in the U.S.
Okay.
That we work together with. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I don't think Billy's pissed about anything. I think Billy's having a great time.
David's comment is good. You pissed, you can't talk.
Yeah, he just threw it up. That's really funny. I just had another question right off the top of my head, and I can't remember what it was. Okay, so
other issues that I can think of, the DOA rate from importing from the U.S. to Canada. Like, I think I've had one box and it was shipper error. They used too many heat packs, but other than that, it's perfect. A lot of people use cryo packs. Another thing I want to talk about is cryo packs. A lot of people in Canada don't know about it. It's very common in the U.S. I really recommend, if you can, purchase these cryo packs. I find them to be a safety, a backup, a fail-safe in case you use too many heat packs in the box. Let's say you use 2 heat packs in the box.
Mhm.
You put these cryo packs while they're in their solid form in the box. It'll absorb the excess heat to a certain amount for sure, but still, it'll buy you some time for the box not to overheat. So it goes,
that's really cool. So they basically act as an insulator, like
Yeah.
not a huge one, but it's a small insulator.
yeah. So they change, they phase change at around 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the box goes above that, then it goes from solid to liquid, and then more liquid and more liquid to absorb that excess heat. A lot of people think they're ice packs for summer use. They're not ice packs. They don't hold cold that well. Our U-line ice packs, they are just really cold. That's what an actual ice pack is. But these cryo packs, they're a good backup system. I personally don't ship without a cryo pack in the box majority of the year. Every time I've opened a box from a US seller, the ambient temperature was just phenomenal when the cryo pack. It was just super comfortable. Yeah, they're $6 a piece, but I mean, you can't put a price on that for animal safety kind of thing.
Here's a kind of out of left field question for you. Have you considered just dropping some Reptile Express stickers in every box you guys send out, just to have your stickers out there?
Yeah,
I know that they're not cheap, but like, man, people love stickers nowadays.
Yeah, they do, and I think Billy had a lot to do with that.
Oh, I won't argue with you there, dude. Like, Billy really pushed that to the forefront.
Yeah, so right now we're giving out free pens. And then when we're done with the free pens, we're going to switch to free stickers. Actually, on the website, I made it an option. You can get a free pen, free gecko sticker, free snake sticker. So just pick whatever you want.
Yeah. That's really cool. Oh, apparently you're ahead of my question. All right, let's. I'm just gonna post in here. So. I'm sure you've had your fair share of trying to find the right way to word this, but I can't, so I'm just going with my gut here. Nightmare clients. Are there any particular stories that stand out that you'd like to share more? Like, not just to shit on people. That's not what I'm asking. But more so as like a learning experience for people.
Yeah,
because I'm sure you've dealt with every type of person there possibly could be.
Yeah, thankfully the troublesome clients are so minimal, thank God. But there was this one situation. I mean, the ball pythons were involved. It was in October. This is 4 years ago, and it was supposed to go from Alberta to Winnipeg or something like that, and it went to Memphis, Tennessee, all the way in the USA. It got missorted, went to a different country. And Memphis, Tennessee is the worldwide hub for FedEx. It's their huge facility where everything, goes through. Yeah, Chris from Omega. Oh, that's a good one. I'll talk about that.
Okay, please do.
That was classic. But yeah, I went to Memphis, Tennessee, and this guy was freaking out on me and FedEx, and that's to why I went there. And mistakes happen. But anyway, we got on it. We got the customs paperwork done, and they got sent back 3 to 4 days later, and the animals were still alive. But this guy kept emailing FedEx and harassing them after I had already told them, please be mature, professional, mistakes happen. We don't want contracts to get pulled. Anyway, he kept harassing them. I dropped them as a client. I said, you're never using our services again, blah, blah, blah. So there's a few situations like that where I've told a client, no more. I've had enough of your attitude. It's just not worth the $10 I'm making on your shipment. Life is too short. There's tons of other customers that deserve my time. So,
and that's one thing I kind of want to touch on just really quick. Yeah. People that are out here thinking, "Oh, Sam's making a fortune off my shipment. He should be waiting on me hand and foot if there's an issue." Like, guys, profit margins in every business are like this.
Yeah, especially Canadian domestic shipments. I think we have 25% margin. It's
you just like the company I work for full time. I imagine work off volume, not profit percentage, right?
Exactly.
So, guys, you're $7 that's going into Sam's pocket. Like, it's not that much.
Yeah.
Just understand that everybody's paying the same fees to get their animals across the country. Just be patient and be fair.
you're upset if the delays happen. We're on it. Like most of the time we know about the delay before you do, and we're already working on it. So, but when the emails go a little too far and they get rude, that's the kind of stuff me and my staff don't need. Like December was brutal. The kind of phone calls we were getting, like we record all phone calls, and it just got to the point that we had to put an example up. I don't know if you heard it on our.
I did.
It was just brutal, cussing at me and all that kind of stuff. It just.
I wish I would have remembered. Oh, man. I wish I would have remembered about that because I could have actually asked you to send me that file. I could have thrown it up for people to listen to. But I cannot even fathom the amount of verbal, not even verbal, but just abuse that you guys have to go through between emails, phone calls.
Yeah.
The whole nine, right?
Majority of the time was awesome. December was brutal. I've never experienced something like that. But thankfully that's passed and we're back to sanity levels. It's a lot better.
These guys are killing me. This is great. When I asked that question, I actually had a specific thing in mind, and I'm not going to bring up any names because I don't want to be that guy. But I heard of a specific shipment that happened, and I feel like you'll remember this because you made a post about it.
Okay.
A specific person in the community booked a shipment with you, bought a kit, and then packed that kit with, I think it was double the amount of animals that they claimed were going to be shipped or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was 2 days shipping on top of that.
Yeah. So that's another.
What? Like, why would you do that? You have, like, to me, if I'm doing something, say booking a shipment of an animal from point A to point B, and it asks me, what's the animal and what's the size? I imagine there's probably a reason you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
That's how my brain works. I go, oh, they need to know because just in case I fucked up, just in case I picked the wrong thing, now you guys can go, hold on, you actually need this. This will be the best case scenario.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sneak something by you. Like,
yeah. So with that one, I remember it very well. That was one that they kept insisting on shipping. It was actually around this time last year, I think it was. So it was starting to warm up, but not much good. It wasn't good enough for 2-day shipping. And I kept telling them, no, please hold off. We're not there yet. The nighttime temperatures have to be above 10 degrees on a steady basis between both provinces. But I guess their buyer kept wanting to ship. Anyway, so I said, okay, let's do it. I need to know the weights in grams of these animals and how many. And they gave me the quantity, but their weight in grams was very basic. It was 300 to 500 grams, 6 to 1,000 grams. And then we found out that, so we sent them a kit number 7, which is a very large box, and we sent it to them. And I guess they added 1 or 2 more animals. And the sizes, when I saw the pictures, unfortunately, the DOAs and stuff like that, the animals were fairly large. My question was, how the heck did these animals fit into this kit number 7? And okay, let's say for example, we messed up. We sent you the wrong kit. When you're packing these animals, something's got to click that, hey, these are not going to fit in this box. Let's postpone. Let's get the right kit sent out. And most often, we'll absorb that cost. That's our mistake. We'll send you the correct kit. We want these animals to go comfortably. But this doesn't happen. We weren't made aware that there's going to be tight in there, and they shipped. And the results were terrible. And they kept on saying the weather was bad or hot. It wasn't. After I looked at those pictures, I could for sure know that those animals died due to crushing issues. There's no way they were not uncomfortable in that size of a box.
And unfortunately, when an animal overheats, when you see it, you know. And that sounds terrible. But like, if an animal basically cooks to death, you can see it. It sucks, and it's unfortunate that it happens ever. But you can tell. You know.
Yeah, you can tell. And so when the DOAs happened, oh my God, my Facebook page lit up with this one person. It was a big group order, 3 or 4 buyers.
I know. I heard the whole story. It was like a group buying off a single breeder, and I heard the whole thing.
But me and that main person in New Brunswick, we hashed it out. We're super good together now. We're good friends, and something really good happened out of it. But during that time, it was for sure stressful. But yeah, I'm super close with this person now, and everything ended up going well in the end. And then what we did do is we arranged for WestJet to ship from the airport to airport, so it was next day service, and we covered all those fees for that.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's really cool. And it must be really scary that all it will take is one person essentially making a disastrous mistake that you can't control.
Yeah,
that could potentially just destroy. And I say this very generally because I know guys like myself and Billy and Khalil and Don, and we're gonna trust you, but to have one breeder make one disastrous mistake and then have 5 to 6 to 10 people dragging you on social media, that's all it will take to stop people from wanting to book shipments or even just be confident in shipping it all.
Yeah.
And it's tough because people need to take a personal responsibility, but at the same time, I totally understand wanting to believe that they didn't make the mistake. You know what I mean? Every time somebody fucks up, you want to go, but I did everything I could. You got to take some responsibility.
I just want people to know mistakes happen. You're going to learn. I mean, 10 years later, when I first started out, we didn't even have YouTube. There was pictorials on how to ship. I mean, pictorials. And I had to make my own styrofoam cutouts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, because there was no tutorials, I did make mistakes in the beginning, but you learn from it. And now with our help, these mistakes are basically non-existent. And when it does happen, people just freak out. They're like, oh my God, a mistake happened. Why did it happen? They take it really seriously and personally. But I mean, mistakes are going to happen, and you just live and learn. Nothing's perfect, but 99.99% of the time, things get there perfectly. And before I forget, thank you so much, Angela. I did see your comment. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we had Angela up here just shouting out Reptile Express. I mean, every breeder here in Canada would be kind of SOL without you guys. So I don't think she can thank you enough for all of us. But
thank you.
Don has a question. If there's an issue with a shipment, should we be calling Reptiles Express or FedEx directly? I've had a couple problem buyers that were impatient.
That's a good question. So when COVID happened, our volumes went up 200% overnight. And
that's
still
crazy.
200%. They're not going down. If anything, they're going up. This year's going to be even busier. So
I'm amazed. Yeah. Sam, just before you answer, I'm amazed that you still managed to work as a business. If any other business immediately overnight went up 200%, it would shut them down for a month. That is so much extra work to take on.
It wasn't easy. It was long days, long work hour days.
All I'm saying is props, dude. That's amazing.
So yeah, to answer Don's question, before COVID, I preferred everybody to call me if there was if there was a delay or something like that. But these days, I'm asking people to call FedEx first. If they don't get any good luck there, to give us a call. What's happening lately is people are jumping the gun too soon. They'll email me at 9 a.m. Why isn't this box where it's supposed to be? No, they'll email me at 12 p.m. Where's this box? And I'm like, well, it's in BC. There's 3 hours behind us. It's 9 a.m. Please give them time to sort. And then right when they send that email, 10 minutes later, there's a new scan on it.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of time that it takes to read your email, track it, see where everything is, that takes up quite a bit of our time. So I just like to ask, please, to email us when something's seriously gone wrong, where there's no scan by 12 p.m. on the receiver side, and then we'll get involved and we can make the phone calls. But it's happening a lot lately where people are just not giving it enough time for it to go through the system.
And it's funny because in my experience, the actual shipping process usually takes less than 24 hours. My package is usually being picked up by 3 to 4 p.m. because of where I am.
Yeah.
And the receiver is usually getting it anywhere from 10 to 11:30 a.m., whatever their time is.
Yeah.
So you're actually usually sub 24 hours. So when I see these buyers freaking out because it's 10:30 and they haven't heard anything yet, it blows my mind. These animals are packed with care. You send, what are they, 60-hour heat packs?
Yeah.
And then the smaller ones are 48s?
40.
40. And at hour 17, they're going, I haven't heard anything about my animal. What the fuck is going on? Like, people need to calm down. And let FedEx or whatever shipping service you're using, if you're in the States or even Canada, I guess, because if you're not shipping a snake, there's multiple. Let them do their thing and get you your snake. Once there's an actual issue, a physical issue, your animal didn't show up, then proceed, because Sam is basically all we have for all of Canada. This entire hobby is depending on Reptiles Express to get all this everything working, and you're bogging them down because it's not even 11 a.m. yet, and you're worried.
And I understand people being anxious for sure. That's one thing I am going to go back to doing. Please give us a call for tracking. I haven't trained my new staff on how to handle tracking people's shipments yet, because there is a process to that, and they're still learning the other aspects of running our day-to-days. So once that's complete, I'll train them on it, and we're going to have many customer service agents with set up, and they can track it. But right now, we're not at that point yet.
Khalil actually missed your announcement. Do you want to do a brief overview for him?
Yeah, so we're going to make ball python, green tree python imports easier. We're going to apply for them in advance, so we don't have to do it every time. Like, for example, Khalil wants to import, we get your information. No, we're just going to do that all in advance. We're going to have permits coming every 2-3 months, and then we're going to import them every 2 months, kind of thing, in big volumes. So right now we have 20 spots. We had 6 spots. They sold really quickly. We have another 20 spots coming in for ball pythons, and 10 spots for green tree pythons. I'm expecting that to come shortly. And then basically you just book, you reserve your spot. It's a $75 deposit to save your spot. And then we can put you in that, and then just bring your animals in very, very easily and quickly.
So essentially, you're just not doing it on demand anymore, right? You're basically, you're taking the responsibility of saying, hey, listen, we'll have at least 20 people for this export.
So what I'll do is
you're basically taking that risk on yourself, right? Because you have to pay for that if you don't fill it.
Well, so the permit's $100 US. So if I don't,
I'm not saying it's a big thing. I'm just, it's still a risk, though. Nobody wants to spend money they don't need.
Exactly. But I mean, their spots are getting taken like so fast. So I know it's going to be a good venture to do, and the price is less than our previous method. And so we're going to do that. It's going to be good.
So will this bring down the cost of, say, an individual export, or import? Sorry.
Import. So before it was the 500 up to 2 animals, and then 800 3 to unlimited. So we changed that to 250 for the first python, 500 second python, and the third and additional pythons is just $100 extra.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's awesome. Like that's a phenomenal savings. You're saying, so is it an extra $100 for every animal you add on?
So the first 2 is going to be $500 for both of them, and then the third one's just going to be an additional 100 and 100.
That's amazing. So you're no longer paying $800 to bring in 3 snakes.
Exactly.
If that's all you need, you're just paying the $600.
Yeah.
That's a 25% savings off the bat. That's
and
amazing.
Right now it's $500 for 1 animal. Now it's going to be $250. So
that's phenomenal. Yeah. You're cutting half the price off. That's.
And you know what? The U.S. they made me do it, man. They're taking way too long with these damn permits. Like what's going on is these biologists are getting the application. They're approving it really fast, but that darn final stamp for the head up guy is taking months to a year right now. And I keep telling them, send me a refund. I'll reapply in the new system, and they don't even give me a good answer. So you know what? I'm going to proceed with this new method because you guys are leaving us no choice. Things have to keep moving.
Will's loving you, dude. So, Sam, this is a question I kind of just want to know personally, but I think it's good information to have out there. What was that recent change that's happened in the permit application within Canada that's allowed you to kind of streamline your end of the whole permit side of, I guess it would be export at that point? Because you've talked about how there's a quicker return now or something like that.
Quicker return.
You've posted about it a couple times. I might not be conveying it properly.
I think maybe Canada Customs switched to an online portal. You can now fill out an application.
That's what I was referring to.
Okay. Yeah. So now you don't have to go get your paperwork validated at customs office, which is so ridiculous. You just went in there, wasted your time. They stamped it. Now you do it all online via your own account, and then just submit it online. And now you just go to the airport. You just go to the airport to Air Canada and just drop it off. It's so much easier.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because you posted about it. You posted about it a couple times, and I wasn't 100% sure exactly what you were talking about, so I figured I'd ask you.
Basically, every country's gone online now, which is phenomenal because I'm really tech savvy and I love that much better.
And you know what? It's just so much easier to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
Once it's all on the computer, it's already there, right? You don't have to waste your time entering it all just for your own records. It's there. You can do what you need to do. Yeah. So we've already been going for an hour and a half, and this has been awesome. Yeah, this has been great. So I think what I'm going to do is I just posted for any more questions. I think we'll probably give this another 5-10 minutes, unless the chat lights up and starts dropping you questions like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you all night. I'm sure you got stuff to get to. We 100% appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. Sure.
It's been awesome. It's a very unique look into something that's very, very, very important to our hobby in general.
I want not only Canadians, Americans, everybody in our industry to just make those sales effectively, get these animals there safely. I mean, we're doing some crazy high numbers in animal values. I think between U.S. and Canada, $5 million worth of animals per year. And that's just our import-export services, not the Canadian domestic, not Asian. So we're putting some serious, cash into this industry, and we love working with everybody. You guys are really good to us, and we appreciate that for sure.
Oh, I actually had one question for you before I start looking at the chat. Could you speak a little bit to the service that you offer, in which it basically, I can't remember the name of it right now. Oh my gosh.
Escrow? Nobody can remember that name.
Thank you. Yes, the escrow service. If you could touch on that a little bit, because I feel like it's a phenomenal service that you offer. It's essentially an a built-in anti-fraud service that many people aren't aware of and don't take advantage of.
Yeah, so we just recently, even though I've offered it for a long time, we just recently started marketing it so more people are aware of it. So it's called our escrow service. And with, scams being on the high for the past few years, not just recently, there's a lot right now, but a few years. So we came up with this idea where, the buyer would pay us for the shipping fee and the animal values. We'd keep the animal value portion in trust, and then the seller would ship the animal. And first they have to send us a picture of the animal that was posted in the ad. Then we will share that picture with both parties to make sure we're all on the same page. Mm-hmm. And then the animal will ship. Once the buyer receives it, everything is good to go. We call them up and they say, it's good to go, Sam. You can release the funds to the seller. And then we release the funds through EMT that same day. So it's really, this has been really handy, especially for turtles and tortoises. I think we've done over $300,000 worth of animal values being held in trust for those animals, because there's quite a bit of scams with those species for sure. But
I've seen a lot of people trying to pass off certain species of tortoises as other species and stuff like that. So I could definitely see that hobby, same hobby, but I could definitely see that particular section of the hobby benefiting from that service.
Yeah,
exponentially.
It's come in handy for sure.
That's a really cool service you offer. So basically, you just take the money and hold it. You're basically just
Again,
the middleman.
The middleman. I love the middleman role.
But that's really cool, and I'm sure you guys must take like a small portion of that to make it worth it for you guys.
$15.
Yeah, and that $15 to make sure that you weren't scammed or to make sure your buyer doesn't feel like they were scammed. Like,
yeah,
that's a phenomenal service to offer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have some questions populating here, so let's get through them, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
So Noah's back. What's up, Noah? Do you have different shipping prices for different animals?
No, we don't. We have them for different size of animals. For example, crested geckos we can fit into small boxes, but green iguanas or tegus, if they're older, they'll need a bigger box. So we have 7 or 8 different box sizes for different sizes of animals, and the shipping prices are based on the box size. We don't go by weights because the cubic dimensional weight of the box is always greater than the actual weight of the animals. So we go by the size. That's why in my emails or on the website, we ask for how many grams is your animal, because from that we can get a good idea of what size box we should recommend to you.
Are there any species that you don't want to or refuse to transport?
So we don't want to deal with anything that needs a crate, like huge reticulated pythons.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have a box big enough for that. That's one thing. Another thing is monitors, like water monitors. They're very strong. Their nails are very strong. We actually, oh my God, we had a situation 5 years ago where an adult was shipped, close to an adult, and it got out of the box inside the FedEx van. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was pretty serious. And thankfully, the driver was close to the buyer's house. Anyway, the buyer came, picked up the animal from the van. But that was a learning lesson from us. No more big water monitors. And now anybody that wants to ship water monitors, I always say, I need to see a picture. That's the policy now.
Wow. I like that. That one time could have been enough to have FedEx just be like, fuck exactly. Everybody for reptile shipments.
Imagine it got loose in their facility. How are you going to find that?
God.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like I that's part of shipping snakes or reptiles that never even crossed my mind. Like the idea of an animal getting loose either in the facility or in transport. Like,
well, that's what happened with the UPS, the president of UPS in the US. A snake, I think it was a retic, got out of the box, and that was it for him.
Oh like, my God, really?
Yeah, yeah. And I also hear the movie Snakes on a Plane also he can't get over that. He keeps referencing that movie as an issue.
Oh, man. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're like 10 after 9 right now. I think we've had some really good questions. This has been
really good.
Amazing. Sam, thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you, bud.
You need to start doing more of these. I feel like the information for shipping and the understanding of what goes into that needs to be a lot more widespread so people really understand what goes into making sure Sally's corn snake gets from Toronto to Kelowna. It's people just think it's literally just throwing something in a box and sending it off.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than that.
Yeah. We've come a long way in this community. Canada's doing amazing. Like, everybody should be proud of what they're doing here. We're dealing with top-notch people. The shipping can be well. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. You can do that.
So what Sam's referring to, in case for some reason you're not looking at the screen, is Noah asked, but shipping baby or small monitors is okay with you still? And Sam said no problem. And we have one more question, and then I will promise that I'll let you go. This is a good question, though. I wish I would have thought of it. What's the craziest thing you've shipped?
Craziest thing.
Has there been anything that you're just like, what?
The weirdest thing was when we helped Environment Canada officers. They cracked down on an individual coming from Russia to Toronto Airport, and he was smuggling medicinal leeches in his suitcase.
What?
So they seized the shipment, and they kept the leeches. and a bunch of them went to Canadian museums to keep, and then a bunch had to go to the U.S. So they hired our services to do, because they're CITES animals, so we had to do CITES permit. Well, they did it, being Environment Canada. They got the CITES permit, and we took them across the border. A whole bunch of leeches.
I never. You could have given me 1,000 guesses that leeches would not have been.
Right? When I got that call, I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Oh my God, that's amazing. All right, well, honestly, I can't think of a better story to end this on. Sam, dude, thank you so much. This has been so fun. Thank you for putting up with my stupid little video at the beginning of the
It was shocking. I was
beginning of the live. But no, honestly, everybody here appreciates this more than you know. I appreciate this more than you know. And I'll definitely be using this video moving forward if anybody has any questions on anything. Cool. So realistically, this is the end. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys.
No, man. Well, you know what? I want to have you again. You know, let's let 2021 pass. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And you know, let's do this again sometime, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'm gonna drop Sam off here so he can go do whatever he needs to do. We're gonna do an outro and we're gonna be out of here. Thanks again, Sam. All right, guys. That was phenomenal. Oh, thanks so much to Sam from Reptile Express. And guys, you know what? We'll be back here next week, 7 p.m. EST. I'm not going to tell you who the guest is. Stay tuned. See you later.